in this lecture, we will talk about one-to-one function. Before we do the concept for one-to-one function, we want to review what's the definition for a function first. Okay, because one-to-one function has to be a function first. Sometimes an equation like x equals y squared, this equation does not define a function of y of x. Okay, so look at this one. This one is x equals y squared. Okay, x equals y squared right here. And then you plug in different x is 0. So you have a 0 equals y squared. Y has to be 0. But if you plug in 1, you have 1 equals y squared. Y can be positive, negative 1. Plug in 2 for x. 4 equals y squared. Y is positive, negative 2. Plug in 9 here. 9 equals y squared. You have y is positive, negative 3 right here. That means for each x, not for each x, for 0, x equals 0, you have a y. But if for sum of x, okay, for example here 1, 4, 9, you have two values y in y that corresponds to the same x, then this equation will fail to define a function of x. You see, this is the chart. 0, 0 right here. 1, 1, 1, 1. 1, negative 1. X is 1, y is negative 1. X is 2, x is 4. Y is positive 2 and negative 2. You have another point. And x is 9. Y is positive, negative 3. So 9. Positive 3 for y. X equals 9. Your y is negative 3. So then if for some values in the equation, for example here 9, 4, 1, they correspond to two values in y, then this function, this equation will not define a function. Okay, so basically if you draw a line, vertical line, it cannot have two intersections. If the graph of the equation has two intersections with one vertical line, then the corresponding equation will not define a function of x. Because for a function, here is the definition. For each x, there is a unique y corresponding to the given x. Then y is the function of x. Normally we use vertical line test. Here it fails. Since it fails the test, then this equation will not define a function of x. Another chart to show this is that you see 0 corresponds to 0 is fine, but 1 corresponds to two values. 4 corresponds to two values. Sometimes it may correspond to 3 or 4 values, but you know that's not a function. Okay, so it can be an equation, but it is not a function. Okay, so this one tells us that equation may not define a function. Now let's look at this example. This one is y equals x squared, which is different from x equals y squared. Does this equation define a function? Let's see if this one fits the definition or not. For each x, there is a unique y, not more than one. Unique y. Is this the case for y equals x squared? You got to check. Okay. Actually, we know the picture of y equals x squared is this one. Here are the details. Okay. Plug in 0 for x. 0 squared is 1. Plug in 1 x for x. Okay. 1 squared is 1. Plug in -1. -1 squared is 1. So are the cases for 2, -4, 2, -2, you got +4, and 3, -3, you got +9. So is this the case that for each given x, you have a unique y? Sure, you see here, for 1, you have a 1. -1 does not correspond to 1. But here, for -1, you have only one value of y. Okay, -1 does not correspond to -1. Yeah, so you can see clearly is that for each x, 1 here, you have a 1 for y. For negative value, -1 for x, you also have a +1. Okay, so 1, 1, -1, 1 is on the graph. So are the cases for 2, +4, and here -2, +4. Okay, 3, 9 here, -3, 9. Okay, when you draw a vertical line, you can see it passed the vertical line test. So this y equals x squared defines a function y equals f of x. The question here is that it is a function. Okay. But is this 1-to-1? You might guess that probably I want to say this is not 1-to-1. The answer is correct. Okay, it does not define a 1-to-1 function. What's the meaning for a 1-to-1 function? For a 1-to-1 function, the equation must pass the vertical line first, vertical line test first. Draw a vertical line, it has one intersection, not more than one. So it passed, it's a function. And then to be a 1-to-1 function, the graph has to pass the horizontal line test. Okay? If we draw a horizontal line and it has two intersections, then this function will not be 1-to-1. So to be a 1-to-1 function, a graph must pass two tests. Two lines test. The vertical line shows this equation will be a function, and then the horizontal line test will tell us this is 1-to-1. Okay, in this case this is not. It has more than two intersections. What's the definition then? The definition is that f of x must be the equation first. Okay? Yeah, must be the equation first. Besides that, for each y, there is only one x value corresponding to the given y. Then y equals fx will be called a 1-to-1 function. Okay? So you can see if you draw a horizontal line here, yeah, and you can see that there are two intersections. The reason is that for a given value y, it must have only one x corresponds to y. But in this case, it has two positive, negative one. You see, for the same value y, for the same value, let's choose 4. Okay, choose 4. then it has two values, -2 and +2 corresponds to the given y. Okay, here's 2, 4 for this one. Okay, so that's the reason. Okay, so now probably we are clear for the meaning of one-to-one function. Another chart to illustrate this is that you see right here, for this one, yeah, 0 corresponds to 0, that's fine. 1 corresponds to +1, 1 goes to +1, -1 goes to +1. So once you see there is at least one point did something like for a given y you have a 2x values, then it's not going to be one-to-one. Okay, as long as you find one like one case. Here I listed two cases. Okay, x equals 2, you have a positive y. -2, you have a positive y. So when y equals 4, you can go back to find out 2 and -2. Okay, -2 and +2 corresponds to the same one. So this one is not a one-to-one function. Okay, it's not a one-to-one function. Okay, so now we are clear that what's the meaning for one-to-one function. You may wonder, then, do we have a one-to-one function? We do. We laid a foundation right here to proceed. Later on, we will talk about one-to-one function more. But here is a very typical example: is y equals x cubed. Okay, recall x equals -2 square cubed is -2 times -2 it's -8. The popular mistake is -2 times 3. You get -6. That's wrong. Okay, because -2 times 3 you won't write in this way. So don't make mistake. That's very popular. And here x equals -1, you have -1 3 times, that's negative. X equals 0, you have a 0 times 0 3 times, you get 0. X is 1, that's 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1. And x equals 2, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Okay, so here, this will be a one-to-one. You see, -2, -8. X is -2. Y is -8. So -2, -8. This point. -1 for x, -1 for y. So it's right here. 0, 0 origin. 1, 1. This point. 2, 8. A little bit high. If you connect 5 points, draw a vertical line, pass the vertical line test. Draw a horizontal line, pass the horizontal line test. Then y equals x cubed is a function from here and is a one-to-one function because it passed the horizontal line test. So y equals x cubed is a one-to-one function. Okay, you can see one-to-one function has this kind of figure. Okay, -2, -8. It can go back to find only one, not more than one. Okay, -1, -1 corresponds to each other. 0, 0, 1, 1. 2 corresponds to 8. 8 goes back to find out only one value. This tells us that y equals x cubed is one-to-one. Okay. I will see you next time with more examples.